Go down. Get somebody. Go down. Get somebody. Go down.
Welcome to another Doggone Podcast here at the CEC Studios. I'm your host, Mike the Mad Dog. This episode is sponsored by the Georgia Renovations Group. We'd like to thank them for sponsoring this episode. And I'd like to thank my guest for coming back for another episode, Mr. Pete Cordelli. How are you, sir?
Good, Mad Dog. How are you, buddy?
I am doing fine, Coach.
Good.
Coach, I can't tell you how nice it is to have you back on the show.
Well, thank you. Thank you for asking me. Man, I'm looking forward to this one, just like the first one.
Yeah, this one, I'm going to go ahead and jump in. Let's go ahead and jump right into this. It's another barn burner in Athens. I mean, I don't know how long they can keep doing this. Kirby Smart said in their press conference that they were hard to kill, and they proved it yet again. I don't know how long they can keep doing stuff like this coming back, but it was very frustrating watching it. But going back and looking at it again, there was just a lot of good football being played there. I don't know if Georgia's defense was slacking off or if Lane was just in the groove offensively, because we know what a good offensive mind he is. But I mean, it just goes to show you, if they just keep going and they don't stop and they somehow wound up on top. And of course, the defense, I don't think came out of the locker room till like the middle of the fourth quarter, it seemed like, because I mean, evidently the punter was hurt or something, because they didn't want him to work at all that game. He wasn't doing anything. The punter needed to take a break, so they didn't allow any punts at all. So it was amazing. So what was your take on that game?
Well, I'm glad to see Kirby's been talking to Bruce Willis about Die Hard 1, Die Hard 2, and all the Die Hard movies, because Bruce Willis has been his inspiration here. But from the second half against Auburn, the way that the Bulldogs shut out Auburn in the second half and the way the offense came along on the road in a tough environment to get that win, and then knowing that Lane's going to come in, he was getting ready for Georgia the week of the Washington State game. I mean, just the way they played against Washington State. But to have 9 drives on offense for Georgia and scoring 8 of them, that's a great day's work, and a lot of credit has to go to Mike Bobo on the offensive staff.
Yes.
Ole Miss, the first 5 drives, they score. So it's like a track meet back and forth. Is there going to be any defense played? And, Georgia, Kirby and this Georgia defense, they pushed the buttons at the right time. And, okay, let's turn it up to 11. And that defense did in those last 3 drives. And in front of that crowd, playing at home and knowing how important that game was, Georgia coming through with the victory. But that's the best day Gunnar Stockton has had. The deep ball to Bell down the left sideline. Bell did a great job. It's called stacking the defender. When you're even with them, and as you get by them a little bit, you step in front of the DB and you put them in a trail position. And Gunnar threw the ball on target, on time, dropped it in the bucket. That was a huge play in the game. And then the other guy, Humphreys is Stockton's go-to guy now. We saw it in Knoxville that Humphreys is the guy. The other day, they send Branch to the flat and 2 defenders go with him. Humphreys runs a quick 6-yard out. And Gunnar, when you run sprint out, Mike, for a right-handed quarterback going right, the ball's got to be going by the 6th step. And what I mean by that is, by the time if you go 7, 8, 9, the defense can react to you. But if you're in time, in rhythm, it gives the receivers a chance to run the route, get open. That ball was placed perfectly, but gone on time. And that was a huge conversion as well. But this Georgia team, believe me, that was a tough one to lose to Alabama. They know it. They know their margin of error has been reduced a little bit. But there's a bunch of competitors, and it has to do with the way they practice. Kirby is on them with that microphone. I mean, he is up and down the field, and every day is a competition period. And so when Georgia gets in these tight games, I'd much rather win ugly than lose looking pretty.
Yeah.
There's nothing like winning. And but when Kirby said, we're hard to kill, that just reminded me of the diehards. And this is a diehard Georgia football team. And now the open date comes at the right time because you can get some guys healthy. Obviously, Florida going through a coaching change. That'll be interesting. But you know what? From now on through the rest of the season, this is about Georgia. This isn't about who they play. It's about how Georgia plays. We all know how important the Florida game is. But then after that, you can only play them one at a time. But coming back against Auburn on the road, coming back against Ole Miss, you're entering the fourth quarter going, oh my gosh. And those players, they didn't flinch. Reading their body language on the sideline, it was like, come on. And Gunnar Stockton, man, I mean, that's old cool hand Luke right there, baby.
Yeah, as a former quarterbacks coach, I mean, what do you think about him? I mean, does he seem to keep getting better every game? I mean, he seems to me, he's stepping it up all the time, and he's just so humble during the interviews afterwards. Like, I just want to play. Everything's, just taking it one game at a time. He's saying all the right things, but he actually is just and. Kirby mentioned this during an interview. He said they try to put him in situations where he doesn't get hit, where he doesn't have to run the ball as much, and he told them, "I want to run the ball. Let me run the ball." And he said one time he took a hard hit at Auburn, and he didn't think he was going to get up. He popped right back up and started playing. Like he is a tough individual. I just hope he doesn't get hurt before the season's over with.
No doubt about it. But from Raven Gap all the way through, I mean, that's just the way he's played. That's the way he's built. The number one criterion in evaluating quarterbacks has always been decision making. If a guy's going to throw the ball into triple coverage or make some just boneheaded plays, you don't want that guy because he's going to make a bad decision at a critical game-changing point. Right now, we have not seen that out of Gunnar Stockton. He's making great decisions. You always have to know the time, the score, the situation.
Yeah.
And look, we saw it in Knoxville. He knew the time, he knew the score, he knew the situation. Not only does he throw the touchdown pass, he's got to come back with a 2-point play.
Oh, yeah.
So he has to make 2 big throws right there. He gets it done. The other day, I just thought his decision-making, he was in rhythm with his footwork, delivering the football on time. Early in the year, it looked like he might have been holding it a little bit long, waiting for the receivers to get open. But this is something that Mike Bobo and those guys have worked with him on. Hey, when that back foot hits, get it going. Throw your receiver open. The ball's in the air before you break. You know where that receiver's going, so read the defender. If the defender's inside, throw it outside. It's kind of like a point guard in basketball.
Yeah. Well, Lawson Lucky had 3 touchdowns this past game, and I mean, like that was a big deal. I mean, he seems like that. Him and Gunnar were on the same page. I mean, because that one throw in the end zone was a tight throw, and he let that ball go quick. And before I even knew, I thought he dropped it, but he caught it and he came down with it. That was 3 touchdowns. I mean, that was a big deal involving the tight ends like that. And Lawson Lucky seems to be a go-to guy for him as well.
Over the years, when you study Mike Bobo and his play calling, the one guy he always comes back to is the tight end. Look what they did a few years ago. I mean, last year they had more drops than any other college program. That has been alleviated. But the tight end has always had a big role in Mike Bobo's offenses. And you're right. Gunnar Stockton, Lucky, these guys have formed a bond. It's called, in coaching, when you're talking about quarterbacks and receivers, you talk about the KYP, the acronym. KYP stands for Know Your Personnel. And that only comes through repetition and working, especially in the offseason or before practice, after practice. You're going to get a certain look. You may want to work on a certain route to give your guy a chance to get open and the timing of it. And right now, Gunnar Stockton is understanding his personnel and who he's throwing to. And these guys are responding very well. I know that the unexpected from Florida will be on everybody's mind next week in Jacksonville. But again, this is why it's about Georgia. You're going to take their best shot coming out early. They're going to be hyped. They want to show everybody, with it. Lagway and these guys, that defense is pretty good. But this Georgia team, they're telling you, you better play us to the end. And even at the end, we're still going to find a way to beat you if we got to go to overtime.
That's true.
And that's a mindset. That's a mindset that you get into. And the only way you get into that is the way you practice. And that's why I say Kirby pushes these guys so much during the week. But the one thing they don't ever do is question if they're going to win. They have unwavering faith in Kirby, in this staff, and in Gunnar Stockton. You look at the Georgia quarterbacks over the years, competitors. And that's the one thing that Kirby learned when he came to Georgia, brought over with him from Coach Saban.
It's interesting that you brought up, that you don't know the unexpected. And I was gonna ask you about that one time, I think off the air. The thing is, I lost him. Where'd he go? Is he there? Oh, sorry.
Sorry about that.
I thought I lost you for a second. The thing is, why is it that when you have an interim head coach, sometimes it seems like the team plays completely different, and sometimes they play better?
Yep.
And I find that kind of interesting, why that happens. And I'm wondering if you're going to get that with the cocktail party at Florida.
Oh, yeah, you are. There's going to be a whole new wave of emotion and enthusiasm and different stuff going on from those Florida players. Because for them right now, this is their national championship game. They're putting everything into this Georgia basket. And so you have to fight through the initial surge, the initial shock. So it's going to be something that they're going to have to contend with.
Why is it that teams do that, though? What is it about the players? Is it just a different voice that they hear when the head coach is gone? Or what is it about, sometimes that they look better? I always thought that fascinating. I don't understand how that happens.
Well, I think they've gotten so much bad publicity and they've been beat up so much in the negative. And it's like, okay, let me go show you what we're really capable of. So,
it just looks like they go in a different direction, and they seem to have more energy, more fire. Everything's just way better than that. I don't know. I think it was Florida eventually was going to move on. I knew that, but I didn't necessarily want them to do that in the middle of the season right before the cocktail party because I worry about that. I worry about that X factor whenever they come in with the interim head coach and they have something completely different. Because Kirby knew Napier. But he doesn't know what this other guy's going to bring. He could bring something completely different. And then, with a week off, you never can tell what you're going to have there.
Well, Billy Gonzalez, the interim head coach, he worked for Urban Meyer. So he's been there for quite a while. And I'm sure Kirby will go back and see some things that Urban did because I know Billy's talked to Urban yesterday or the day before. So it's going to be interesting. But, DJ Lagway has 12 rushing yards on the whole year. 12 after 7 games.
Yeah, that's kind of
crazy. He only had 4 going into last week's game at Mississippi State. And he gained 8 last week. I think you're going to see a whole new approach with DJ Lagway, getting him out on the perimeter and doing those things where he has the run pass option to let that big body get going downhill. And so quarterback run game would be the first thing I think will be a change that Florida will implement against this Georgia defense. And but the speed of the Georgia defense is going to be something that Florida can't overcome.
No, it's just going to have to, Mike Bobo, and they're going to have to call up a good play. I mean, they're going to have to keep calling up what they did. I think that Ole Miss game was by far one of the best games I've ever seen Mike Bobo call. I mean, everything was on the money. Every play was just, they didn't get a first down every time, but they put themselves in short yard situations every time. I mean, they were moving the ball, and it was slowly wearing down the defense, and
They were playing ahead of the chains.
Yeah.
And then what that does is it gives your punter a chance to flip the field and let your defense play and force that offense to have to go 90 yards or more, 80 yards or more. And there aren't many teams that are going to do that against this defense. The one thing I will say, I'm hearing Glenn Schumann's name a lot for some open coaching jobs. Would not surprise me to see Schumann leave to become a head coach.
Yeah.
But this is the time of year with all the coaching things going on, and Schumann's been there forever. So, but I expect Glenn Schumann to be a head coach after this season is over for Georgia.
Well, the way the defense played a few times, there's a few Georgia fans that might agree with you because I've heard a lot of people say that they think it's time that Schumann moved on and they did something else. I wonder how many.
Let me ask you a question.
Okay.
1 year it's Bobo, the next year it's Schumann. 1 year it's Bobo.
Look, I'm only listening to what I'm only saying what I'm hearing.
Let me say this to you though. That's what happens when you have the expectations of winning a national championship every year.
Yes.
There's always one phase. I mean, or else it's the special teams coach.
Yeah.
There's always going to be criticism at some point for one of the three phases. And you know what? I don't think that's a bad thing. Everybody says, well, your fans are spoiled. Yes, they are. And guess what? I'd much rather have that than the apathy that some of these schools are seeing now because their teams can't break an egg to get in the win column, man.
No, you're right.
So I hope this attitude of the fans of Bulldog Nation never changes. The Dogs will always expect, as long as Kirby's there, and even after him, like we're seeing at Alabama, last year, Kalen DeBoer. Do you know Kalen DeBoer is a head coach? He's 15-2, and his record's 15-2 when his team plays ranked opponents. 15-2. That's pretty darn good.
Yes.
And so don't ever change the expectations of greatness. And that's what you have going on in Athens right now.
Well, Kirby and Lane Kiffin are very good friends. And I've been meaning to ask you this as a coach who's been on the sidelines before. Is it harder or easier to coach when you're friends with the coach that's across the field from you?
You never think about it. I'm going to tell you right now, you block it out. Because who's paying your check?
Yeah, I get that.
It's not that guy across the field, because I'm telling you, he's trying to beat my brains out. So I'm going to get him first, It's like Mike Tyson said, everybody has a plan until you hit him in the mouth.
That's right, until you get knocked down.
And you know what? We were friends before. We're going to be friends maybe after, or, but guess what? It's all business. It's all about my team. And in some cases, what the public sees isn't really true friendship.
Yeah.
So, as a matter of fact, I think that Lane sent Kirby and his wife some spa tickets for this weekend after he made that unfortunate comment about Kirby's body,
Yes, he did.
And Lane doing the hot yoga stuff. Who cares what you do with hot yoga, dude? I could care less. You didn't beat Georgia.
No.
Last year, 2 years ago, he said, man, we went to play Georgia. I saw him. He said, we got to get like that. Last year, yeah, they win the game in Oxford. You think Kirby was going to let that go by?
No.
That game's been circled. But guess what? And because of agents, Lane Kiffin's going to be associated with every job opening in America.
He always is. I don't understand why. That's the first coach they always
Jimmy
bring
Sexton. Up. It's the agent. It's the guy they call Big Deluxe. Memphis Fats, Jimmy Sexton. I mean, that dude. Come on now. It's all about putting money in his pocket too.
I will say this. This is funny. I saw a clip. I think it was on. I can't remember if it was on Twitter or Facebook. There was a clip of Lane taking another jab at Kirby. Like he called a timeout, and the referee came over to him and he said, "No, I'm just kidding. I was clapping." And he did like that. And then he said, no, I'm just kidding. I really want the timeout. But and then the referee started laughing too. But Lane always makes a dig about anything. He trolls everybody.
But he's just like his dad. I coached with his dad at Arkansas.
Really?
Oh, Monty. Yeah, in 77, 78, he was our defensive coordinator at Arkansas. And I got to know Monty pretty well. Monty had one of the greatest senses of humor that you ever wanted. But Lane, I think, when Monty came to Fayetteville, he and Lane's mom had gotten divorced.
Yeah.
And I believe Lane was 2 at the time. But then, like 4 or 5 years down the road, they remarried and got back together again, which was great. But Lane and then his brother Chris coaches with him, there. But their father, he was always, a practical joker. He was a chain smoker. He would have one lit on the field at practice, and he'd have one in each ear, and it drove Coach Holtz nuts. Absolutely
That's
nuts.
insane.
Monty, oh, shoot. Dog. He's coaching the linebackers. He's down on one knee, and he's doing a change of direction drill. He takes a drag on the cigarette, and then he starts flipping the cigarette right, then left, then right, then left. Then he blows out the smoke and goes boom. And then Lou is like, Coach Holt's like, Monty, what in the hell are you doing? He said, I'm running my drill. He said, with a cigarette? He goes, oh, yeah, this is how I do it,
Well,
So,
Well, that just goes to show you. There was I've seen footage of coaches way back in the day doing all kinds of stuff on the sideline. They never get away with it now. I think with social media and everything, there's no way. I mean, we get on to coaches for like you said, what they wear, doing hot yoga and all that other crap. We always give everybody a hard time about everything. You think they wouldn't give each other a hard time about what they used to do back then?
Hey, let me tell you something. When you're on a staff together and then you become head coaches at 2 different places and you start telling stories about the old staff and what they remember, if you could only be a fly on the wall in those situations.
Yeah, there's a story that Kirby told. He had to do this once he left Alabama, of course, when him and Lane were coaching a national championship game with Saban. And Saban called for that onside kick or whatever. And Lane said he called both of them over there. Said, I want both of y'all's opinion on this. And Kirby said that never worked in practice. They practiced it 100 times. They never could get it to work. It never, ever worked. Yeah. And then finally he said, you know what? We're going to do that tonight. And he said, Lane looked at him and said, tonight, right now, do you know the game we're coaching right now? He said, this isn't just a game. This isn't just any Saturday. This is a national championship game. And he looked at him and said, yeah. And he looked at Kirby like he wanted Kirby to back him up. And Kirby goes, no, I agree with Lane. It never worked. And Saban goes, we're doing it anyway. And he said, and of course, it made him look like a genius.
Oh, yeah.
But Lane at the same time was like, what are you, nuts? That never worked. And he said Lane was just that way. If you don't want his opinion, don't ask him.
It's the way Monty was in staff meetings with Lou.
Yeah.
Lou would say, well, what do you think? Monty would be like, Coach Holtz, he said, hey, Monty, I'm doing it anyway. Get ready.
Yeah.
But Lane comes by it naturally. And so, everybody remembers the clip where Nick just chews out Lane and
oh God, that's.
They said, what about that conversation?
It's like a 30-point lead, and he's still chewing him out.
It was an ass chewing, and so that's just. But when you get back together and you start telling those stories, if the public only knew, those are some of the great moments in building continuity on a staff.
Yeah, I think that was with anything though. When you're friends with anything, like there's times where you just had to be there, you had to know what happened, and a lot of people are like, why do you put up with that guy? And they'd be like, look, we've been through a lot together. That's just the way it is.
Well, and the other reason why, the most important reason why, because we win.
Yeah,
winning is the most important thing. And let me tell you something. There are other staffs that stuff goes on, and they are getting their brains beat out.
Yeah,
but we win. The guy knows how to win. But it doesn't mean we're not going to question them or do certain things. And there's a reason why he wanted their input. But you know what? I promise you, analytics didn't come into that call.
Hey, listen, let's talk about what's coming up this Saturday. Georgia's not playing, so I get to enjoy
Yeah.
football without being an emotional wreck. But this Missouri game at Vandy, I really think Vandy is. I think they've got a really really good chance of winning that game.
Well, I was at Missouri on the Thursday night opening game when they played UCLA, stood on the sidelines. I was really impressed with the speed and the physicality of Missouri's defense. The Trotter kid, his dad, was all pro in the NFL. He can fly. And they've got some defensive backs that are pretty good. I promise you this. Missouri's defense will not make the same mistake LSU did and let Diego Pavia beat them running the football. Brian Kelly says, oh, yeah, we got a plan. We're going to stop the run, and we don't. Shoot, they never spied them. In Missouri now, and the other thing is Bo Pribula, the transfer from Penn State who came into Missouri with Ahmad Hardy. Pribula can beat you with his feet and with his legs.
Yeah, he's good.
Vandy has become more physical in the offensive line, which isn't talked about much. Diego Pavia, obviously, with his swag. But Tim Beck and Jerry Kill, coming from New Mexico State with Pavia, they understand what he does well. This is going to come down to whoever has the ball last. And for Missouri to come back and beat Auburn in overtime, they've already experienced a close game on the road. Eli Drinkowitz's name has come up in Florida as well.
Yeah, I've heard that too.
But I think Missouri wins this one in a close one.
Really?
Yeah, I do.
I
saw Ahmad. I do the Arkansas State home games, and last year Ahmad Hardy was at UL Monroe.
Yeah.
What a fantastic back, and now he's doing the same things. He's leading the country in rushing right now, and so with a dual threat quarterback like Missouri has, and they've got a tight end and a couple of receivers who can go get it. So I like Missouri to win this one in a close one.
Well, Ole Miss goes to Oklahoma. Now, do you think? I mean, I think Oklahoma's defense is going to be a little bit different than what they saw against Kirby. But do you think since they're coming off the loss of Georgia that Ole Miss is going to be able to pull this out even if they go to Oklahoma?
Oklahoma is a different team at home.
Yeah.
When they play at home, they're salty now. I mean, and then losing to Texas, obviously in Dallas, neutral site, but Mateer coming back too quickly. I think Mateer is going to be better. Oklahoma's defense will pressure Trinidad Chambliss. And again, like Diego Pavia with Vanderbilt, you have to put a spy on Chambliss because he makes so many plays with his feet. I think Oklahoma at home wins this one.
Really?
Yeah.
Ole Miss takes a second loss. That'd be interesting. Texas A&M goes to LSU. I mean, is LSU are they just done for the year, or they got any more fight left in them?
Dog, I got to tell you, I've always had a question about LSU's offensive line this year. They had to replace 4 or 5 starters from a year ago, and it starts up front. And now it's my understanding, I think, that the starting right tackle is out, and they're going to have to play a true freshman. So, and Cassius Howell, I mean, coming off the edge, he's really something. LSU secondary is good. The Halsey kid at safety came over from Houston. Delane at corner. But between Craver and Concepcion, and I give all the credit in the world to Colin Klein for developing Marcel Reed as a better passer right now than he has been in the past. This is a typical stumbling block game for A&M in the past. And Mike Elko addressed that Monday at his press conference. And it's like, the question keeps up, is this the week? Is this the week? And it's like, you know what? We got to go on the road. We got to win in Baton Rouge. I think A&M will get it done. A place they have not won since they've joined the SEC. And I think they'll win in Baton Rouge.
That's going to be really interesting. I mean,
Nussmeier's making too many. We talk about decision making.
Yeah.
He's made too many poor decisions under pressure.
Yeah, and I agree. I mean, I saw him in that Vandy game, and he just looked defeated on the sideline. Like he looks like, I don't know, like you said, he's not decision making in there, what he's doing, but he just seems like he's very flustered and very frustrated.
When quarterbacks, and it doesn't matter how old you are, how good you are, When you're getting pressured all the time, eventually after you get beat up so much, your eyes start dropping to the rush, and you're trying to get the ball quick or make plays that you shouldn't be making. And I think that's the mindset he's in right now.
Can LSU turn it around? Can Nussmeier turn it around?
He needs help. He can. Not one guy can do it all. You know, getting Durham back at running back will help, but this A&M defense, they have the ability to bring the pressure and put the heat on. A&M's defense has got to stop the run. If they stop the run and force LSU to be in a one-dimensional team, A&M's going to win this.
Yeah, but I mean, if LSU keeps losing, I mean, is Brian Kelly going to be on the hot seat?
Yes.
I mean,
yes. You don't make a comment, I'm leaving Notre Dame to go somewhere where I can win a national championship, and then not come close. And then you look at what Marcus Freeman is doing, having Notre Dame in the championship game last year, and obviously they had the 2 losses early, but they're getting better. Having been at Notre Dame and hearing that from Kelly, I just shake my head going, we did it when we were there. We understood.
Yes. And
for that excuse, I have issues with Kelly on that. So it's always been someone else's fault with Brian Kelly.
Yeah, Brian Kelly, his name's actually been brought up for the Penn State job.
Ooh, good luck.
I know. I don't know.
You know what, though? I'll tell you what, if he does get it, those LSU fans are going to send him a wheel of cheese so he can do that with his wine.
Yeah, it always seems like it is somebody, you know, at every press conference, he's either mad beating the table or he's passing the buck to somebody else.
Nobody understands how hard it is to be the head coach at LSU. You just don't. Stop. They're paying you $10 million a year. That's your job. But you know what? That AD there, Scott Woodward, he's the same one that signed Jimbo to the $70 million, $100 million contract at A&M before he came over. So Woodward's going to be 0 for 2 on coaching hires. How much longer do the LSU people put up with him?
I mean, how much does they put up with anybody? They see this coaching carousel coming up is going to be absolutely insane. But
you know what, though, dog? I got to tell you, that's the agents that are working for these coaches, because the coaches go, hey, ask for this, ask for that. And then the ADs cave. I wouldn't give a guy, if I'm an AD, I wouldn't give you more than a 6-year contract. And here's what I'm going to tell you. 6-year covers the 4-year window of eligibility. But if you have a winning record in the first year, I'll add another year. Prove to me on the front end you can raise our program. And then after the 2nd year, let's make progress. After the 3rd year, let's see where we are and talk about maybe a new contract. I would never, ever, ever give anybody a 10-year contract. Are you kidding me?
I don't know why they do half the things they do.
You talk about the financial irresponsibility, and then the president sign off on it. 6 is the max. In this day and age of, have it your way, the Burger King motto. Hey, have it your way. You got the portal. You got this, you got that, you got all of it. 6 years. That's it. But if you have a winning season after the first year, I'll add another year. So you're always on a 6-year contract.
Well, Coach, listen, I appreciate you being on. We're going to have to wrap this up.
Yeah, man. Yeah,
it is always a pleasure talking to you. I could talk to you for a long time. It's absolutely great talking to you.
Let me say this to you, man. It's always a pleasure. Ask me anytime. And I want you to enjoy this weekend because this next stretch for the Bulldogs is going to determine whether there's a rematch with Alabama in Atlanta, or is A&M going to sneak in there?
Yeah, it depends. Somebody's going to have to take down A&M. But listen, I appreciate it. I appreciate your time. I appreciate the Georgia Renovations Groups for sponsoring this episode.
Yep.
And this has been another episode of another Doggone Podcast. And doggone it, I'm out.